the dream of every 23-year-old kid is to be successful and to prove himself. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? In the long run, you just have to grind and it will pay off in the long run.
Manu, welcome to Diary of an iGaming Executive.
Hi, Rob. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all. Now, we're speaking in mid to late August. You've not long had your latest earnings at Catena Media. I'm sure you've spoken to lots of people about this, but give us a quick summary. How did they go?
Well, I think one way to look at it is that it's probably the best quarterly report we've had since I joined the company about a year ago. So that's definitely an upside. The market reacted quite well to it. We've seen a little bit of a spike the day of the report and the day after, and then pretty much leveling out over the last couple of days. But overall, my take on the report is that we've managed to stabilize the revenue. We know that for Catena, we've had a couple of tough years where the revenues continue to decline for various reasons, but we managed to stabilize the revenues for the last 3 quarters or so. And then we showed a much improved profitability margin, which is something that we've put a lot of effort on during the last quarters, which includes layoffs and everything else. But we've managed to double up pretty much year on year our bottom line, which is very positive to see.
Excellent. Yes. As a new CEO, your first year was probably not the sort of textbook one or the easiest one, but how would you summarize it? You're not long after your sort of first anniversary in the job, but how's it been for you?
Thank you. My first anniversary was just a couple of weeks ago. So yes, it was challenging for sure. I think I come from a company, I've spent 16 years with Kindred before Unibet Kindred, where pretty much it was a story of growth for all this time. And I was in different roles, pretty much focusing on growing in different markets, different brands, different geographies and all that. And Catena is a slightly different challenge. As we've said, for the last couple of years, you're looking at a company that's been declining in revenues. So it was a different challenge than I've had for the last few years for Kindred. So I think challenging is one way to look at it. It was definitely different than it was before. And obviously it's a new workplace, new colleagues, new shareholders, new board members, everything was new. So after being in a long relationship for 16 and a half years, this was a very, very, very different new world that I had to adapt to. But I'm lucky enough to actually be surrounded by a lot of people that are very hungry, and the company is very, very motivated to get back to where it was, which was a market leading affiliate in this space, in the gambling space. So I think with the help of the people around me and everybody in the company that's doing their best to be successful, I think that made it a little bit easier.
What did you inherit, if you could sort of summarize for us? And what did you need to do? What was your priority list on day one or month one? Your 3 biggest, most important things to do, or your 5 most important things? How would you summarize that?
I think that the first thing, if you're looking at Q2 last year, 2024, before I joined, you're looking at a quarter where the bottom line was around €500,000. And at that point, we had a senior bond still to be paid within 12 months from that point, which was about €22 million. A hybrid bond for about €42 million, a revolver of about €10 million, interest rate for the hybrid of about 1.2, €1.3 million at that point, and the company was making only about €500,000 per quarter, right? So not the most, not the optimal situation to be in. Secondly, I think just at the time when I joined, media partnerships used to be a big thing in the industry. And if you're familiar with media partnerships, it's basically affiliates partnering up with big media publications and launching sports casino related content on that. And that used to work pretty well for our industry for a number of years. But Google made a big change around May last year with the algo update, and trying to overcome that and actually punish media partnerships a little bit. So we were in a situation where that was declining a lot. Thirdly, as all the affiliates and all the industry, new markets are always a great opportunity for new customers, for new revenues, for new blood. And in North America, we haven't had a significant launch since North Carolina, which was March 2024. So for the last 18 months or so, there hasn't been anything significant happening. And also before North Carolina, there's been a bit of a period of silence. It's not the 2018, 19, 2020 days when you had pretty much one state regulating or launching every other month. So you put all those together. So I guess the summary is that we're in a rather stressful situation where we couldn't rely on new launches anymore. Google was changing the rules of the game, particularly when it comes to media partnerships. Fast forward a little bit, generative search is also changing the rules of the game a little bit, and we're highly inefficient. We had a team of north of 200 people. Actually, beginning of 2024, we're on 300 people that were generating just around €500,000 bottom line per quarter. So obviously a mismatch between the workforce, the revenues, and the future projections of revenues.
Yeah, that's quite a lot to deal with in your first year.
Sorry.
If you know, I'm prone to exaggeration, so forgive me. But one way of describing that is walking into a burning barn. You had a lot of fires to put out, but you've managed to do that, or you've stabilised the ship anyway. But how did it go on the job interview? Were you aware of this when you came in? Were you given the full picture, or was it something you found on day one?
I think so. I think I was aware, and I think being a public company, you can understand. Everybody can understand pretty well what's the situation, right? It's the revenues are public, the share price journey is public, and everybody can understand what's happening. That all the debt instruments are public, so pretty much you get an idea of what's happening. But I think coming back to stabilizing the ship, it comes down to people. If you have the right people around and the team is motivated to do it, you'll be able to do it. Growing is obviously challenging, and we're still trying to get back to growth and get to that point. But I joined the company where at the same time where most of the executive team has been changed and the board was changed. So I joined July 1st. The chairman joined end of May with the AGM. So the new chairman joined about 5 weeks before I joined. Pretty much half of the board joined at the same time. And the entire executive team has been actually named in the last 18 months with the COO, CFO, CTO, Chief HR, Chief Legal. Literally everybody is new in that role in the last 18 months. Half of them have been with the company for a while, different roles, so been promoted to the executive roles. Half of them pretty much coming from outside and joining the company, including myself. The big upside for that is that everybody is very, very hungry, in my opinion. So I think from an executive team perspective, we've got a absolutely fantastic executive team. All of them are very, very eager to prove themselves, including myself. It's my first CEO role also, so I'm no different than everybody else in the team. We all need to prove ourselves. So I think that is the key. I knew what I'm walking into, but meeting the team, meeting the board, meeting who else is joining me on the journey, that gave me confidence that we can do this together. And then the rest of the team, I think, again, we lost in the last year, give or take 100 people from the organization when I started, but the remaining 150, 160 people, I think it's clear they are hungry and they want to be successful again. And at the end of the day, we're all driven by the same thing. I think I'm pretty sure that everybody in the company wants to be successful, want to be where Catena was a few years ago, want to dominate the industry as we did back then.
There must be lots of pluses and minuses with the brand new team, as you say, that are people not just new to Catena, but new to sort of C-level roles, really. But I guess there's a lot of people learning on the job, but also a lot of people coming with fresh ideas, and fresh ideas is probably what you as a company have needed over the last 12 months, would you say?
Yes, absolutely. I think you can't do the same things as we did before and expect a different outcome, right? That sounds like the definition of insanity. So we're definitely trying different things, and I think a very good point that we have people coming from different industries and having seen different verticals and trying to implement things a bit differently. I can tell you that we're not lacking ideas in terms of the the number of projects that are going towards our tech teams or our operations teams and how much we can implement, there's definitely a mismatch there, as should be in any company in the world. We have more ideas than we can actually deliver. So saying no to things was actually one of the big mantras when I joined. I said that it's very important for us to stop focusing on certain markets, stop focusing on certain products, start saying no to a lot of initiatives, because that can be very distracting. But where we're trying to be very efficient in terms of how many things we can do at a time and do things right. I think it's more important to do less things right than many things not that well. So I think that's where what we're trying to do right now. I think a good example is that if you're looking at our presentations from a year and a half ago, we're talking about, or even when I joined, we're talking about owning over 3,000 different websites, and we were focusing, or we're talking publicly at about 20 sites at any given time, and now we're down to less than 10 sites that are our focus sites, and we've managed to close down a lot of the properties that were simply not generating any revenues, and they were just taking resources and taking money. So we're definitely focusing on much less than we were a year ago.
If you look at your Kindred career, you could argue that it was about building things up. Your Catena career to date has been probably about pulling things down a little bit more. Has that required a mindset shift for you? Have you taken naturally to that role, or has it been difficult?
I think absolutely. It's just you get used to things the way they are. And again, my career at Kindred has been, from my perspective, has been amazing. I was so lucky to be surrounded by amazing people that have managed to grow that company from successful in a couple markets to being everywhere in the world, from Australia to North America, and to launch products and be successful. And it was an amazing journey. And the challenge is all the time, like, how can we do even better? How can we grow even more? What's next? And that's for any manager in the world or any employee in the world, that's the most fun, right? You're playing a monopoly game and figuring out what to do next. So yes, it was a mind shift to, this is not working right now, where we actually have much more debt or we have money going out and more money going out than money coming in. So it's a challenging thing. And I think that the other challenging part was that for a lot of people in the organization, they still had the mindset from 2020 when Catena was doing very, very well. So changing the mindset of the organization to say that, hey, we're not in the same position right now, but we need to get the ship back on track. We need to make sure that we have the right structure and we have the right size of the company for the revenues that we have right now before we get back to growth. That was challenging. I say it's equally fun. It's different type of fun. It's definitely more mentally challenging, or I think, it just sometimes longer hours and more gray hair. But overall, if the success comes, it's equally rewarding if it's either or.
Yeah, and hopefully growth will come again. It's just you are where you are as an organization.
Maybe not the hair, but everything else should. Yes.
Exactly. I heard you say recently that you don't take yourself too seriously, and neither does the team or your senior team at Catena. Can you do that in corporate America? Is that something you can place you can be?
I think, thankfully, we're probably not in corporate America, just because we're still a European company listed in Stockholm, headquarters in Malta. I work remotely from here, from Las Vegas, so I don't have to worry about that too much. But I think what I meant is that we're all here for the same reason. We're all here because everybody has the need to be successful and wants to prove themselves, and we want to have a better life with our families, with our friends, and want to enjoy ourselves. And spending pretty much at least a third of your life surrounded by people at work, if you're not able to have some fun and better yourself and challenge yourself, then I'm not sure that's good for anybody. So I was lucky. Interestingly enough, it's my third job in my life. The previous two have been for Scandinavian companies, and Catena is also a Scandinavian company. So I'm very much in the Scandinavian culture by now, I guess, where you work hard, you play hard, you find the right balance between work and life, and you try to enjoy yourself.
What are the problems that you've had to deal with is telling a lot of people they haven't got a job anymore, and there's nothing relaxing or fun about that for them or for you. How do you deal with that as a boss? How do you deal with the need as a company, as you've outlined already, to make drastic changes because things are not going in the right direction, with the kind of human cost of that?
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? I think in those discussions, the key is to be as quick, as straightforward as possible, and it just comes down to that. Nobody wants to hear the fluff, and that's the reality. And to a certain level, I think the employees at Catena for the last few years have had an idea that things are not going right and that day may come. So not preparation, but at least being a little bit aware of what's happening and that there's a risk at any given time. From a manager's perspective, it's without a question the worst discussion you may ever have, or the thing that everybody dreads the most. I want to tell the story of success and growth, not telling the story that we managed to optimize the bottom line by letting people go. I'm very much aware that those people have families and have loans and have things to worry about. And pretty much all of them have been good employees and have done a great thing for Catena throughout the years. And they didn't deserve to be in that position. But unfortunately, that's the reality we're in right now, and we have a business to run, and we have to do what's best for our shareholders. And in order to protect the future of the company and represent the interests of the shareholders, and do what's best for the remaining 150, 160 people in the company, those were the measures that had to be taken. And I think just judging by the conversations we had with the people when that happened, a lot of them will have understood that that's the reality, and that's the outcome of many years. Is not something that changed overnight. And
Sure, absolutely. You mentioned regulation and the way that that has slowed in recent times. Obviously, post PASPA, there was a rush for states to regulate, particularly with sports betting, but also iCasino in some cases as well. Is that a problem? Is that a challenge for you as a company that states aren't regulating at such a quick rate? And is it an exaggeration to say, going back to that word which I use a lot about myself, has the post PASPA bubble burst, or is it? Are you still confident that there is growth to be had in the US market?
so the first part of the question, yes, it's definitely a problem. It's basically the 2018 to 2022 timeline with all those launches. It was every quarter a new project, a new market to tackle, and pretty much for both operators and affiliates and product suppliers, everybody had a game plan for how to do it. So it wasn't reinventing the wheel for every state, but it was pretty much applying what was learned in one state and then to the new one, improving where it can be improved. But it was a new set of customers that were acquired, and obviously a revenue fuel every quarter. Not having that every quarter is definitely a downside, right? I think we have Missouri at the end of this year. We have Missouri scheduled to go live in December, which is good for everybody, for operators, payment suppliers, affiliates, and so on. We'll see what will happen in 2026. Alberta is likely to happen in the first half of the year. We'll see if anything else. So yes, definitely it's more challenging because everybody has to figure out, well, if this is not happening, something else has to happen instead of this, right? So have to find new customers, or you have to find new revenue from other channels. It could be other products, or it could be more investment into CRM, into existing customers, whatever it is. You have to replace that income of customers with something else. So it was challenging from that perspective, but I think we've done a fairly good job in the last few quarters. The second part of the question, the bubble burst. Well, to be fair, sports betting only is regulating about 50% of the population. If you're looking at the 30 plus states that regulate it, cover about 50% of the population. So still half of the pie left from sports perspective. From casino perspective, you're looking at 6 states, which represent about 16% of the total US population. So still 84% of the population living in states where online casino is not regulated. Yes, you have sweepstakes casino or other things and so on, but it's not exactly the same thing. So I don't think it's over. I think that, like the entire industry, we're hopeful that things will move at some point, particularly in the casino vertical, and regulation will start. I do think it's a matter of time. Possibly it will never get to 100%, but that number 16%, if that will at least double up in the next couple of years, 2, 3 years, I think it will be a great opportunity for the entire industry. So I still think it's early-ish days in the US. Maybe it's not the first third of the first trimester. Maybe we're in the second trimester right now, but I wouldn't say we're close to the finish line now.
Fair enough. Okay. As an outsider looking in, as a Brit looking across the Atlantic, the market in general, there are lots of sort of alarmist headlines and lots of what appears to be kind of infighting, various interests within the industry kind of challenging each other, and lawyers making a lot of money at the moment, whether it's sweeps or prediction markets or tribal interests and land-based interests, etc. But should we be alarmed about that? There appears to be sort of a bit of a civil war going on at the moment with various interests in the US market.
Well, maybe, but I don't know if we need to be alarmed. I think at the end of the day, the regulation will move where the consumer wants. The journey is pretty straightforward. In order to draft the law or change the regulation, the regulators or whoever will write the bills, they will need the support of the constituents. If there's enough demand for regulating XYZ, then somebody will eventually write a bill, and if the other people in the House or the Senate will see that there's enough support, then enough support from the constituents, then they will back that. So I think it starts and it ends with the constituents, right? Everybody will do what's best for the citizens, and I think that's pretty much what's happening. When it comes to different interests from different parties, everybody will try to protect their turf, right? You're still looking at the US being somewhat protectionist. I think just looking at the way online licenses are given in the different states for operators, most of the operators in most of the states have to partner up with a brick and mortar casino in order to get a license for operating online. That shows a little bit how the whole landscape is thought to by regulators, still in a somewhat protectionist way. And then you'll have different interests from everybody else. You'll have the tribes that are adding to the mix here. You'll have horseman association. You'll have card rooms. You will have everybody trying to protect their future. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Everybody obviously are trying to do what's best for their business and their families and their shareholders. It's just probably a little bit more seats at the table or more players at the table than you see in a normal European market when it's a bit more straightforward. But at the end of the day, I think still the one thing that everybody has in common is regulation, and regulation is generally driven by the consumer needs.
Makes sense. Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it. You've talked about sweeps being important to the future of Catena. Is that still the case? Are you going all in on sweeps?
So I don't think we've said that we're going all in on sweeps. I hope I haven't said that. But sweeps was our fastest growing vertical over the last few quarters because, as we said, with no online casino or no sports betting regulated, and sweeps brought that opportunity. Sweeps was a new segment that in a lot of states was the closest thing to casino that was available, and we did a fair amount of investment into sweeps. For two reasons. One, because it was the new product that was hot. And secondly, because we still see it as a preparation for future online casino regulation by building our brands, by building our databases. So we do see sweeps as an intermediary play. The sweeps is one of the verticals that are in that, let's say, bridging to regulation. It's similar to skill games, it's similar to DFS, it's similar to Pick'em, it's similar to all these products that are, in my mind, the journey, the bridge between an unregulated market towards softened regulation, towards the full-fledged regulated market, which is online real money sports betting and online casino. So in terms of sweeps, it's still a big vertical for us. I think, as you know very well, the last few months there have been discussions left and right about sweeps, and we have New York that has banned sweeps a couple of months ago. We have California that is likely to ban, or there's a chance that will ban sweeps by the end of the summer. So obviously, that has an impact with how we plan our future. But as I said, there are other verticals that I think we're confident that will be around for the next few months or few quarters. And I'm sorry if you hear the screaming. That is my 1 year old, and he's absolutely fine.
That's all right. We're all family men here. Don't worry about that. No problem at all. I was going to ask you about changing the subject slightly now, if I may, about algorithms. In my house, where there are also screaming children, algorithms mean weird choices on Spotify. But obviously, for the boss of an affiliate company like yours, it can mean a lot more. Is that a word that keeps people up at night at Catena, algorithm, and do you pray that Google doesn't do anything stupid in the morning?
It does. I think it's probably the first report that I check every morning is the Google ranking. So yes, it does keep us very much on our toes. And every time when there is a Google update, there's always a little bit of curiosity of which way is this going to move the needle this time. And I think we've had a few Google algo changes the last year that did not go our way. Thankfully, the latest one in July did go our way. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But yes, I think that's the nature of the business. We have to figure out what we do to rank well in the long run. And it doesn't matter if it's Google or if it's any other search engine. It doesn't matter if it's ChatGPT nowadays or any kind of generative search. But at the end of the day, that's the game we're playing. So we have to make sure that we're on top of that. Unfortunately, there's no clear recipe what you have to do. There's a million people with a million opinions. Sometimes those opinions are aligned. Sometimes those opinions conflict. I think historically we've done good things from search perspective, and that shows that we're still one of the leading operators when it comes, or leading affiliates from search perspective. But I also equally think that generative search will change the game. It's already changing the game. We know about zero clicks. We know about the amount of clicks that Google searches are getting in general. We know about ChatGPT. We know about all that. So Catena, like every other business in the world right now, has to reinvent ourselves a little bit and adapt to that. It's a threat. Equally, it's an opportunity for us to be better than we were before. And yeah, I think that's the game that we have to play right now. We have to look at this as an opportunity and be better than our competitors.
And at the end of the day, you can only control the controllables, as they say. So
Absolutely.
you do what you can do. Let me turn it back to you, if I can, and your journey within this industry. You left Kindred after a long time there. I think you said 14 or 15 years. And have
16 and a half, yeah.
16 and a half, sorry. And you're now in your third company. So, that's interesting that after such a long time company, you've gone to a new one, clearly. But how was that leaving Kindred? Did you find it a wrench after so long in one place, or were you ready for a change? And did you welcome the move?
I wasn't ready for a change. I did not think that I would leave Kindred. I thought that I would retire with Kindred. I was looking forward to my 40th anniversary at Kindred. Unfortunately, I didn't get there. No, I didn't. I didn't think I would leave, and I was very happy. And I think also, truth be told, I was in Kindred. I was in the same company for all those years, but I've spent time in different locations, from London to New York to Las Vegas, in 6, 7 different roles throughout the time, with a couple different CEOs or 3 different CEOs, with many departments that I worked in. So it was a journey that wasn't very linear, but was very interesting in different ways. And I think if I had a gap between the 2 roles, I would have been in probably not the best mental space. But thankfully, I finished with Kindred on a Friday and I started with Catena the Monday after. So I didn't have too much time to think over it during Saturday and Sunday. So it was a very fast change. And I think the thing that made it a little bit easier with Catena was that it was also a Swedish company, also headquartered in Malta. Funnily enough, the office, the Catena office, is literally one street away from where the original Kindred office used to be many years ago. And to my first trip in Malta, I ended up staying in the same hotel that I used to stay for many years when I was traveling to Malta for Kindred. So a lot of the things felt very familiar, so it wasn't such a big shock. I think that helped quite a bit.
Yeah, well, all new but all the same at the same time, by the sounds of it. Yeah, okay. You mentioned three CEOs there, and in your time at Kindred, you must have come across some people still at Kindred or maybe elsewhere in the industry who have been very impressive people. You're now obviously CEO of Catena, and no doubt people are looking up to you. But who did you look up to when you were at Kindred, and who are some of the better people you worked with, the impressive people you worked with?
I think it's tough to nominate. They have all been great. I think probably two of them deserve a little bit more than to call out than others. I think one is Henrik Tjärnström, who was the CEO from 2010 until 2024. 2024, yeah. 2023, actually, 2023. So out of my 16 and a half years, Henrik has been the CEO for about 13 of those. So obviously, and actually we started on the same day. We started exactly on the same day in 2008. He started as a CFO. I started translating the site in Romanian, arguably very different starting points, but he was the CEO throughout all this period, and he's obviously the number one reason for Kindred's growth throughout that time. So I will always be grateful for all the opportunities he's given me throughout the years. And the other one has to be Matthias Stats, was the gentleman that hired me back in 2008, and he's been my manager for the first 10 years or so in different capacities, different roles. And after all these years, we're still very good friends, and I owe pretty much most of my career to him and the trust that he's put into me for many, many years. I think those are two. But Kindred, the number of friends and number of role models that we had there throughout the years and smart people that have made that company successful is just, it was an absolutely fantastic company to work for.
I can imagine. We'll be here all day if you were listening all. So thank you for narrowing it down. But now you mentioned the three companies that you've been with, the first of which another Scandinavian company, but BetBrain. How did you get your start in the industry? I always ask that because it's always interesting to know how, whether you wanted to be in affiliates all your life growing up as a child. I'm sure you didn't, but how did it all start?
I didn't want to be an affiliate, but I definitely wanted to do something with sports or sports betting. I always tell the story that my father and my grandfather used to always send me place bets for them at the Romanian Lotto, where you used to play on Italian soccer, Italian Serie A, and whatever. So I witnessed that firsthand since I was probably around 10 years old or so, and I enjoyed it a little bit playing with my grandfather and with my father around that. And the story with BetBrain is I was in university, and one of my colleagues saw a job ad for a role at sports betting at BetBrain, and came to me and like, hey, this is perfect for you. It's a part-time job. It's around the Champions League evening, so it's only Tuesday and Wednesday evening, so you can do this after school, and it's what you talk about every day and what you do every day. So it moved very quickly. I joined BetBrain. I was working part-time Tuesdays and Wednesdays evenings, so pretty much watching Champions League and putting the data into different systems in a very manual and old-school way. And it was the beginning. And a couple years later, finished university, and I was looking to leave from Romania, and Unibet was the first job that came up. And our common friend Jennifer was the one that gave me a call and invited me to meet Matthias in London, and I did that very quickly, and I moved there very quickly. And 16 and a half years later, I had to leave that company.
Why did you want to leave Romania? Had you always wanted to travel or live somewhere else? Or?
I wanted to find a new challenge somewhere outside Romania. I think the dream of every 23-year-old kid is to be successful and to prove himself in one of the biggest cities in the world. And if it was London or New York or Paris, whatever it was, but London came up, and just going to London the first time and meeting the Unibet team for the first time, it felt like a dream come true. And getting the job was definitely at that age was my biggest accomplishment.
And by the sounds of it, they need a website translated into Romanian, and you were the man.
They
So
did.
perfect fit. But you mentioned sports there and inputting data for the Champions League and what have you. You're surrounded by sports memorabilia behind you. You can see the NFL helmets. But I also know that you're a keen sportsman yourself and an accomplished sportsman yourself. Tell me about your racket sports medals.
I played racket sports as a kid. I played badminton from pretty much 7, 8 years old until I went to university. Got 5 medals, 5 national medals in badminton. Then I stopped playing. Then after moving to London a few years later, I wanted to play something, and squash turns out to be a very popular sport in southwest London, particularly in the Wimbledon area. So started playing that for a few years, very, very good level, as you can imagine. And then going back to Romania for a seniors championship, it was actually a little bit less challenging in Romania than it was in UK. So I managed to squeeze a medal there also in Romania when I was about 33, 34 years old, something like that. Oh, it was fun.
Did you ever want to be a professional sportsman, or was that opportunity to stop there?
I still do. I still think that my day will come, and I'm still hopeful. I'm only 41 years old, so there's definitely a few years left.
Well, if the Williams sisters are anything to go by, they're obviously getting back into it, so maybe you can as well. But yeah, interesting. Does that passion for sport? Does that? This is one of those cliched questions, isn't it? But does that show the drive you've got in sport? Does it show the drive you've got in business as well? Is that a part of your makeup, do you think?
Maybe. I think it would be fair for other people to say if that's the case or not, rather than myself talking about it. But I think I love competition with everything. We play board games, and my wife and her family just want to play board games for fun, and I can't understand how that works. If you don't want to win, you shouldn't play in the first place. So it's I think there's definitely that competitiveness that an athlete will always put in everything they do in life. I think at least that's not me. I think that's for all the athletes. The golden medal will always be the one that everybody wants. The silver medal is very often just the
one for the trash
yes.
can. Yeah. I understand. Manu, I always finish these podcasts with 3 questions, which we ask the guest each time. And it's supposed to be quick fire questions, but you can take as long as you like, really. If I was to put you on the spot, who would be your favorite singer or your favorite band? Who would you like to listen to most in the world?
I think Eminem will be my choice.
I was talking to someone very recently whose husband is an Eminem tribute act, and a very good one as well. He works in the industry. I'll put you in touch. But okay, if you it was your last day on Earth, unfortunately, apologies for this, but what would your last meal be? What would you like to eat?
I think pizza. I think I would eat pizza for the rest of my life if there wasn't, the normal repercussions of doing that. But if I could have pizza for every meal, I'd probably go for it. But to be a little bit controversial here, I think I'd go for Hawaiian pizza. So.
Oh, really? Okay, ham and pineapple. Interesting. And last but not least, then, as an iGaming exec yourself, what would your advice be to the next generation of iGaming execs? If you had one thing to tell them, one piece of advice, what would that be?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's about grinding, and it's about improving every little thing. And I think it's about having fun. At the end of the day, if you're not having fun in what you're doing, and if you don't believe in what you're doing, you're not surrounded by people with similar mindset, it's going to be very, very difficult to be successful. And don't give up. It's like with everything in life, looking in the mirror every day doesn't really help, but in the long run, you just have to grind, and it will pay off in the long run.
Excellent. Okay, well, you've been improving things at Catena. I know you have, and I hope you're having fun doing it. But we've certainly had fun talking to you today, and I appreciate you joining us. So best of luck for the future, Manu, and thanks again for being a Diary of an iGaming Exec.
Thank you very much, Rob. Very nice to be here today. Thank you.